down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
What's going on, Savvy Investors? This is your friend, Boom Boom, Steve VanCauwenbergh. Hopefully you're doing good. I mean, real good. I mean, off the chain, because you have the time or the commitment to listen to this podcast. Wow. I'm honored. You should be honored because you are putting in the work. You're learning, growing, going to some level. Hopefully it's the next. And I'm just honored just that you're willing to listen. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, I hope that I can drop some knowledge, some wisdom, maybe some motivation, but ultimately to inspire you to do great things. When you do great things, you can help other people. All right. And great things for other people mean great things for somebody else. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is that, are you moving forward? Are you growing and you're learning? And yep, you are, because you tuned into what? The Savvy Radio Show, savvyinvestors.com, savvypodcast.com. Send in your requests, questions, comments, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I just received a few questions. It inspired me to do the podcast. And I was like, now, this isn't scripted at all. I don't think any of my podcasts are ever scripted. Every once in a while, I may take a few minutes. But in the crazy life of entrepreneur and hustle, I don't even know if you have a moment to breathe, let alone prepare for a podcast. And I just give mad kudos for the folks that do a podcast for real, sit down, script it, write it out, interview, get sponsors, and kudos to you. This is the Raw, Down and Dirty, in the Trenches podcast. So if this is your first time, I'm going to stutter, I'm going to make mistakes, and honestly, I really have no earthly idea what in the world I'm about to say. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and ultimately it's encouraging for you and not to be ugly. So this is from one of my current folks in a class I'm doing on commercial real estate. And they said this: what will it take for me to realistically quit my job? Question mark. Is it just a number, or is it a lifestyle change? Is it just a leap of faith? Then a hustle. I desire financial freedom and freedom from a 9-to-5. What is the fastest investment to achieve cash flow for this to be possible? Well said. That's not, that was number one. So, and there's a ton of questions in here. So first of all, I admire this individual because he wrote it down. Not only that he wrote it down, he printed it out and he handed it to me. Even better, right? Even better. If you don't, you got these thoughts swirling in your mind, and it creates fear. That's what it is, folks. It's fear. This guy's got fear, but he's trying to fight through that, and he really wants to know. And this is a question that I've communicated with him, and people have asked me, and it really boils down to you. It's called the FTE moment or whatever, Millionaire Fastlane. If you haven't read that book, I definitely recommend reading that book. It's, there's a moment where you just say, F it, I'm going to do it. Or you're going to burn the bridge behind you. A lot of people, friends of mine, have tattoos of boats and they want to move forward. And you can do anything that you want to do. Now, he has some questions here and there. I'm going to break them down even harder, but I just want to throw that out there. You can do it. There's nothing holding you back but yourself. What will it take what will it take for me to realistically quit my job? You just got to say yes, and you got to start planning for it, right? I was hanging out with a homeboy the other day, and, I think a lot of, you have to have a definite purpose. And, you read Napoleon Hill, How to Think and Grow Rich. And it's like, the book is like, beat you over the head. What's your purpose? What's your definite purpose? And I realized I had a lot of fear in my lifetime. I don't know what that purpose is. Is it ministry? Is it basketball coach, youth minister, savvy business person, real estate, somebody, right? What's your major definite purpose? I mean, that is such a crushing question. And it just haunts me for years. And I realize that that's going to be defined over time. And I just got to give you permission that, yeah, maybe today you're a real estate investor and tomorrow you may be a missionary in Kenya, all right? Or you may be a missionary in Kenya for 10 years and you may become a real estate investor, or you may become a commercial real estate investor. See, it's all to you. And I've just wrestled with this question, and I've just finally accepted the fact. And I'm purging. I've got out of some business transactions that have weighed me down. I have stopped building certain projects. What do I really want, right? And what I want may not be what you want. I want to ride my mountain bike all day. I just loaded up my RC car today. I know it sounds so just foolish to some, but there's no, you can be Donald Trump and have $5 billion worth of assets or whatever. It's still you're empty inside. I mean, I'm telling you, I hang out with this dude the other day. He's got more money than he could ever spend in his lifetime. He's got more assets that, man, I could even think about, and he's not happy. He's not happy physically. He doesn't look like he's struggling, but internally he doesn't know what to do with his life. He's just lost. Money doesn't solve all problems. It just helps them. It helps solve some of them, but not all of them. You have to find out for yourself what really motivates you. Because this question that he asks here, do you have to have a lifestyle change? My lifestyle change has happened because of the income that I received, and I'm able to forward certain trips and things that I would never thought would ever happen. I would never thought the places that I have been, and it's definitely through real estate. But enough's enough, right? And so let's get back to the Napoleon Hill. What's a definite purpose? And so I was trying to help this other home plan. So I got two people in my mind right now that I'm trying to assist here. And we'll get back to the original question. But what I realized from one of my friends, and he's moved back and forth in between stuff. And the thing is, you got to try it all. And, you can have an idea, but see, here's the problem. You have all this stuff racking up in your mind, but you got to sit down and write out exactly what does it look like and where are you going to be and what are you going to be doing with it. And it's a visualization technique. And actually, I have a forum on this. I'm going to email this out to some of my friends that struggle with this. But what does it look like when you do what you're doing? And and I really thought about it, and I was like, man, I really enjoy teaching. I really enjoy making multimillionaires. I mean, I was going to say millionaire, but I was like, nah, some of the folks I'm rolling with right now are multimillionaires, and I just enjoy getting them unstuck. I enjoy getting them to whatever level they want to be at. And it's an exciting project for me. It's just a growth thing, because like when I'm assisting or serving someone else and helping them decipher something that's hurting them or a business or an employee, I look into myself and say, I need to get my shit together too. And it pushes me to be a better person. So I've defined that, my calling right now is to be like a teacher / coach or whatever. And it could be temporary, right? It's not the end of the world. And I had to figure out what's that number worth for me to live the lifestyle that I wanted. And so, yes, some of my classes have gone up tremendously. And I'm not reaching that certain clientele that I may have had before, but that's okay. What do I really, really want? What is my major definite purpose for me right now at this moment? And so I want you to look at that for yourself. And my wife's major definite purpose when we first got together was to be a radiation therapist. Her parents encouraged her to be a pharmacist, and she went to pharmacist school or started it. And then during that process, she shadowed a radiation therapist and made the decision, after 2 weeks of shadowing somebody, made the decision to be a radiation therapist. And so when we first got married, for a couple of years, I can't remember, 4 or 5 years, 6 years, I don't know. She was a radiation therapist. I'm telling you, she was fulfilled, man, fulfilled. She had career ideas, career goals, opportunities, and got recruited from another hospital, worked at a hospital for 5 years. Yeah, I think 8 years as her career as a radiation therapist. And I'm telling you, she was fulfilled. And then we had that little one come around, and at that time, we had financial resources, and I was like, Shay, you don't have to go back. And she quit her job. I guarantee where she's at today is her major definite purpose. As a mom, as a coach, she's a coach. She coaches basketball. She coaches personal development, a physically trainer, and she's stay-home mom, has a bunch of hats. But the reality is that's her major definite purpose. Now, when our little one rolls out of the crib in 14 years, I guarantee her major purpose has changed. And we have a vision for joining this association or group called the Samaritan's Purse. We want to get up in an RV, and we want to just, when something happens and they want to deploy the VanCauwenberghs to go minister, bang, bang, that's us. So we're going to be like riding around in this little Mercedes, like we're here to serve. And that may not happen. That may be our end. That may be our last major definite purpose. And so I think it just comes over time. And I think you got to get that dialed in. And a lot of people don't want to choose a major definite purpose or whatever you want to call it, a goal or a career, and then it doesn't go well. Hey, you live once, you can change, right? I was a DJ. I was classified as a DJ for a long time. And then I was classified as a musical promoter. And then I was classified as a manager for bands. And then I was a booking agent for bands. And then those were my major purposes at that time. That wasn't my defined who I was. That was just what I was into. Now, I look back and kind of laugh, and I'm in the process of, really defining what am I going to do with this investor weekend? Does it fit what I'm trying to do? And so I think it's just a process. But here's the thing. You've got to commit to something. Whatever that major purpose is, and if it's your day job, it's your day job. If it's real estate investing, is it entrepreneur? Is it a dad? Is it a mom? Is it a stay-home dad, stay-home? Whatever it is, and it could be a certain season. And a lot of men that I work with right now, like they feel bad that they can't make that decision because they feel like they're going to fail. Like they choose to be a real estate commercial investor and they just crash and burn, or they feel like they choose land development and then they crash and burn. Let me tell you something. I was going to be a land developer or a builder, and I realized just recently, and I don't know if I had a podcast, but it's been rolling in my mind. I just decided that's just not what I'm going to do. I was all amped up. You heard about me talking about tiny houses in Chattanooga, and yeah, that's been an interesting roller coaster of a ride. That's just not who I am. It was a good idea. It's just not who I am. I'm not a detail builder, right? I realize I've been hiring contractors and I'm not a babysitter. I've been dealing with the city and I don't understand bureaucracy, right? I'm just straight to the point, and I got to go through this and I got to pay this permit and then I got to listen to this and I got to do that. And then I'm taking all the risk. I'm like, that's just not what I want to become. I really thought I was, and I thought it was cool to be at a party and say, yeah, I'm building this flex space, and it just sounds cool, but man, it was a nightmare. And that's just not my defining purpose of who I am right now. I just simple Stephen VanCauwenbergh, trying to help people become financially free, and whatever that may be. Look into your own heart. Now, this may change, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm telling you right now, it's real simple. I could teach a 10-week class. I could teach Savvy Boot Camp, and I can do all these cool things. They're not forever, but they're willing to change. But, and they fit within my lifestyle of what I want to do right now. I keep it focused. What am I trying to accomplish at the end of the day? What do I want people to know? Oh, there's that guy that wrote a few books and has a bunch of assets. Or there's that guy that loves his family, and my son knows that I was at, and my daughter knows, and my other daughter knows that I was at everything that they could ever be at, that I could be at, right? And at the same time, I also ran 50 marathons, right? There's that guy that ran 50 marathons. Whatever you want to call me really doesn't define who I am. It's who I define. Until you figure that out, you're going to struggle. You're never going to be financially free. Because I remember the first time I was financially free. I was a young dude, probably 27, 28, probably got in the game around 24, 1999, 4 years into the game. I'd have to verify this, so don't quote me on this. I was debt free, and I was living in a rent house, my own, and my total living expenses was $1,500 a month. That was it. Man, I'm financially free at that time, right? And that could be a lifestyle. It could be that simple. I mean, I've seen some phenomenal investors only own a handful of properties and travel and be a nomad and travel the world and be completely fulfilled. It just sounds sexy. Or people like me, that's extremely complicated. I got a bunch of property managers and I'm dealing with other employees and I'm all over the place. And it looks good on Facebook, but is it really? Are you really free? Is it the lifestyle that you want to live? And see, the problem is that we compare and we contrast and we look and we see some dude on a plane or he owns a boat or whatever the case may be, and you want to accomplish that. You'll never be successful, I tell you right now, until you define what fulfills you. I mean, just me personally playing Uno with my son every night lately. I mean, he's 10 years old. It's just money right now. It's just money. The dude brushes out. I'm like, Max, go brush your teeth. He brushes his teeth. Dude's like waiting in his room, sitting on the floor with some Uno cards. And at first I was like, come on, dude, we got to do a quiet time. And now lately we just sit down and we play 3 hands, and this mother stings me every time. But I was like, what a lifelong memory. My son is going to know my dad took the time to sit down with me and to play Uno. Now, I know he's 10 years old, and I know this is not going to last long, but it's just a little, I don't even know what to call it, a sacrifice. But I'm telling you right now, that's more than me buying another apartment building. That's more fulfillment than someone in the airport calling, hey, Savvy. It's more than that. Now, all those things are great. Buying apartment buildings are great. People call me Savvy's great. Hey, man, I read your book. It changed my life. That's great, man. It fulfills my heart. People text me. And I had someone last night text me and say, man, I love you. I was like, man, it just filled my cup. And this dude don't even know it. It's just cool, that I've impacted that one man's life in another part of the country and breathe life into him. And he's financially free, and he can build and do and provide for so many people, employer, for employees, and for his family. I mean, these are just wonderful. And that's what I get off. That's what I just get excited about. Now, so that's a long situation. That doesn't answer your question, right? What is it, a hard number? So let's revisit after you get all that knowledge of what I just said, whatever that may mean to you. Maybe it struck a chord in you. Will it take me what will it take me? It's just simple, man. You can do it mathematically. What's your mortgage payment? Then you want to add 20 or 30% of inflation. Make sure you add vacations. And what's that number? 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 50,000. It's funny, man. Everybody was saying 10,000 a month. And then just within the last couple of months, maybe years, I've heard people say 30. Whatever that number is, right? I found that number, and I just stayed by that number, and I just inched up to that number, and I did it. Is it just a number, or is it a lifestyle change? I'm telling you, it's got to be, my lifestyle has changed. My appetite for certain types of bicycles are not the same $500 bicycle that I was content with before. And so I just create more ways to make money to provide the things that I want, AKA the lifestyle. And so it's your own answer. And I think it boils down to fear. Does your assets make enough money for you to quit your job? And there's a guy that I know right now only has about 12, and it brings in enough money, and it's only like 3 G's. There's nothing wrong with that. And here's the cool thing you need to know, that it will increase, rents increase, and you can, while you're free, living freedom, opportunities come your way. You're more prepared. But if you're at your day job and say your assets bring in $5,000 a month and your nut is $5,000 and you're still working a day job, I think you're really missing out opportunities. And you might want to ask yourself, what would it look like if I didn't have a day job? And would you be disciplined enough to do it? I mean, you're doing a great job on the side hustle. And I'm telling you right now, in 2011, I made a heart-wrenching decision after I read Millionaire Fastlane. I was like, okay, MJ DeMarco, whoop, whoop. I was like, do I keep this bridal show? That's not a hard job. It pays $100,000 a year. It's a little risk into it. Or do I focus on this apartment building that I just locked up? And I'm like, when I read the book, it says, what barrier of entry? Anyone with a credit card can do a bridal show. And I was like, you're right. Now I got okbride.com. I have reputation. I got tenure in there, and I'm just dominating the bridal show market, doing every season, just scaring people out of the market. Or I could really learn real estate, and they're not making any more of it. And commercial real estate, especially apartments, not everybody can buy them. Single families, pretty low barrier of entry, but it's still a barrier of entry. Bridal show, no barrier of entry. So I made that gut-wrenching 10-year-long decision. So for 10 years, I was fooling around as a real estate investor part-time, just like the people that are listening to this episode right now that are getting convicted on what I'm going to say. And then I made that decision and said, I'm going to go all in. It was not easy. Okay, I know you're on the hook right now, homeboy, that sent me this They handed me this piece of paper. And it was scary, diarrhea, whatever. And I committed and I went 100% into real estate, commercial, single family, and blew up in a short amount of time. And I think it's just a level of focus. And when you become a full-time real estate investor, you're just treated differently with banks. You're treated differently on your tax return as a professional. And there's more and more benefits of that. If you want to know more benefits of that, let me know. But when I made that decision, I never looked back. Was I scared? Absolutely. Did I want to quit several times? Absolutely. Did it look dark at times? Absolutely. Did I wanted to sell out? Absolutely. Did I wanted to give the X amount of houses to the church at that time? Absolutely. But I hang on. Is it just a leap of faith? Then a hustle. Man, I'm telling you, you're going to hustle all the time. The hustle game never ends. Reality. You're always going to be flipping something. I was just telling an investor today, man, I think I got a warehouse right now that I'm cleaning the yard. I'm putting a new fence up. And, I was going to put this trailer on there. And then I realized, I might just use this. I was following somebody on Facebook on Marketplace, and I looked him up, and he had a bunch of like weird, unique things that he was selling. This weird 1950 trailer, a weird Trans Am. I was like, man, this is kind of a interesting niche of what he was trying to sell. I was like, man, I got the land for that. I could store this stuff at this location. That's the hustle. And I think that's your entrepreneur mind. I think you should constantly be growing financially in what you're doing, and so that I don't think the hustle will ever change. I desire financial freedom and freedom from a 9-to-5. Well, you could slowly quit that job part-time. You can easily go part-time. I mean, I love that we're all remote working right now. It's incredible. You should consider that remote. I'm telling you, it was a hard. I remember when email came out. It's a hard transition, but when you make that decision, things just fall into place. My mom taught me this at a young age. You can always come home. And I never came back. When I was 18, peace out, Girl Scout, and I never came back. And you can do the same. You can quit your job, and you have to have faith that you can find a new job. I know the climate's crazy, and I'm telling you right now, the labor pool is crazy. And you probably have skills that you don't know. So the first thing that I would do, take inventory of yourself. Are you a graphic designer? Could you hustle on that? And I used to walk a lot of young people through this process. And here it is right here in a nutshell. If you move to a new city, what would be the first way you would make money? Well, for me personally, if I was broke and desolate and I lived in Arizona tomorrow, I would pick up the phone book, start calling every single DJ company and say, hey, I'm a mobile DJ here from Oklahoma City. I don't have any equipment, but I am an MC. And I don't know if you're hiring and I'd like to audition. Boom. They're going to probably all those guys will say, we'll take you because you're just balls enough to call us. And so exactly. And how much does it pay? And I would email and they'll be like 2, 3, 4, 500. And the guy that said 500, I'll be right over. You can interview me, MC right in front of them. Bang. That weekend I could be making $400, $500, right? And that's just Saturday. So that gives me 2 G's a month. Well, that pays my living expenses. And then I would then I would start flipping stuff on Facebook. And then and that's a skill that I've acquired of negotiating. And you see the process. When you get this process and you have this confidence that money is not an issue, right? Money is velocity. It's everywhere. It's your mindset and it's your fear that's holding you back. Simple. I'm telling you, when I mastered private money, and I'm just saying that loosely, I didn't master private money, man. I learned it all the time. I got a homeboy named Chad Harris. That dude is a master. He's done 70-something units with private money, right? When you do a few private money transactions, and sky's the limit. So finding a deal. So people say, when I quit my job, I'm not going to get loans. That's not true. If you built up a good portfolio, say you have 10 houses, that's pretty much good enough that you can leverage. Or you can go after private money. And I loan private money. So you got one private lender right here. Go to savvypodcast.com and you can find me somehow, somewhere through Facebook, or message me or text me. My phone number's on there and you can figure it out. There's really no excuse. I think the big question is, it says, I desire financial freedom, and freedom from, you don't desire it enough. I'm sorry. And I know that hurts, but you weak, man. You got to do it. How bad do you want it? I got that sticker at my office and I see it every day. How bad do I want financial freedom? I remember in the trenches when I wanted to eat and I didn't eat that day so I can buy another asset. How bad do you want it? You're smart. You can quit your job and you can make money. Here's the thing. You can quit your job and it don't work out, which is a lie, and you can go back. You're just controlled by security and complacency. And I know that stung you, but you need to hear it because that's reality. That's society. Go get a job, get a degree, get a master's degree, then get a doctorate degree, and then pay more taxes. It's dumb. Financial freedom can be $1,500 a month and you live in some cabin somewhere and you're just fishing all day. And there's nothing wrong with that. Or like me, I could just be riding a mountain bike all day. Or I'm about to get back into RV cars. Whatever the case may be. RC cars cost money. And there's batteries and they're LiPo batteries and they don't last. And so sometimes you got to hustle. Sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do for a temporary thing. But what's the reality is that you're free. Freedom. There's no cost to it. Whatever it costs in my mind, I'm going to pay for it. Think of it like this. If you got cancer and they said, Mr. VanCauwenbergh, it's $100,000 for you to get this magic pill and you only have $10 in your bank account. I promise you, you won't figure out how to get $100,000. You can get 100 people to give you $1,000 or 10,000 people to give you $100. It's real simple with this GoFundMe BS. All right. So you got it. You feel me? I mean, we can break it down for whatever. What is the Okay, this is my favorite question that he had on here. This is still number one question. So this dude didn't, whatever. We'll leave it alone. What is the fastest investment to achieve the cash flow for this to be possible? All right. Well, there's not one asset. Each asset's different. I got a liquor store. Now, I'm not the owner. I just own the asset. And that brings in equivalent to 5 houses. So while you're fooling around buying 5 single families, I bought one liquor store that produces the same cash flow as 5 residential properties. So commercial is probably the fastest if you're in real estate. But the ultimate fastest millionaire fast lane is to own a business, period. Bar none, blank, blank. You're going to hate me, real estate fans, but that's the reality. When you own a business and it pours in money when you don't have to be there, that is wealth creation. So if you have a gift of design, if you have a gift of mechanic, you can own a mechanical shop. And you don't have to, might have to work there in the beginning, but you can hire someone. And, the other day I was talking to a young lad, 24 years old. His dad paid for a session with me, I thought that was really cool. And I was like, okay, 24 years and he's in the military. And it just said this one simple thing blew his mind. I said, real simple, homie. You are an MP, right? In the military. Yep. And I go, everybody hates you, right? Probably. And I said, that's great. I said, that's a wonderful skill that you have as an MP. First of all, you protect the government from crazy people, from themselves. But you can turn your CLEAT certified. You can turn that into a security guard business. Here in Oklahoma City, we have a lot of dispensaries, and a lot of these dispensaries do a lot of high volume, and they need security guards. And what do they pay for a security guard? Let's just say they pay $35 an hour. Well, some security guards, people are not entrepreneur. They're big, burly, and they have a CLEAT certificate, and they have a gun. And they would love to get paid $20 an hour because they work in the oil field, or they work somewhere else for $12 an hour, or they work somewhere else for $15 an hour. But say, listen, hey, if you just stand at this shop for a couple hours every day for $20 an hour, would you will? Absolutely, I'll do it. And you charge that dispensary owner $35 an hour. How much money did you make an hour? Let's just say 15. Now, there's costs involved, insurance and so forth. But the guy works 10 hours or 3 people at 3.5 shifts or 4 people, whatever. 10 hours is $150 an hour. How many shops, dispensaries, there's the thousands of them. Like the other day, I think I read 5,000 cannabis dispensaries, I think, in the state of Oklahoma. Half of those, maybe 25% of those need security guards. You feel me? You need 10 of those would be what? 15,000 or something like that, 550 to 15, I don't know. 20 of those, 100 of those, figure the math out. What's the number that you need? That's just one. He's like, wow, yeah. So a business that makes money will be the fastest way to give you financial freedom, aka wealth or whatever the cost may be. I know this for a personal fact. Okay. So my real estate was great and gravy for 10 years on the side hustle, and I just barely made enough cash flow to make it worth my time and energy. But man, when I started focusing on businesses and buying businesses and flipping businesses and starting businesses, the amount of money that you can make just trump real estate, single family in a heartbeat. So think of that. That's the one way to financial freedom. Now you say, Mr. VanCauwenbergh, I don't know how to own a business. You sure don't. Nobody teaches you that. So what you need to do, you find a mentor. What you need to do is Google up entrepreneur. What you need to do is read books. I don't got time. Well, there you go. There's your answer. How bad do you want it? How hard are you going to work? That's the key factor. How hard are you willing to work and sacrifice and get up in the morning? And it's not forever. It's only for a short amount of time. And the rewards are just off the chain. So let me give you a quick example. And this is an extremely long question. So this dude asked, answer, and I'm going to end this podcast on this. And then this dude's got a couple more questions on here, and I'll do another podcast on that. I love your questions. Always encouraging. Thanks for all the folks that encourage me. But look at it like this. So I started this thing called okbride.com back in 2000. 1999 is when I started working on it, in 2000. And my motivation was I owned a DJ business and I needed to market it. And I started paying for exhibitor space at these bridal shows. And before that, I was a DJ. I rock parties. And I was a little promoter. I used to work with some bands and so forth. And I was like, how hard is it to get brides to a bridal show? I mean, so I went to this bridal show that was mega huge at the convention center, and I was like, dang. And I started adding, I paid $600 for this booth, and there's like 100 booths here. That's X amount of money. You get the numbers, and I'm like, and then there's brides pouring in, 1,000 brides at $10 a pop. Woo, there's some money to be made right there. It's not easy, right? It's a big risk. You got to rent the venue. You got to get insurance. Then you got to sell yourself. You got to sell services, buy radio, billboards, direct mail. You got it, right? Sounds easy. It can be for some. It's not for the faint at heart. So I'm rolling around with this bridal show. It's doing well. My motive, which I normally do on everything I do, it pays twice as much. Why? Well, actually, in this case, 3 times as much. Once, I'm getting revenue from the sponsors. I'm getting revenue from the sponsors / exhibitors. That's one. Number 2, I'm getting revenue from the brides that come in. So I'm just the middleman per se. And they've been doing this for years in clubs and with bands and so on and so forth. But my real motive was I have a DJ business that I need to market. And I was kind of thrifty. And I'm like, I don't want to be paying bridal shows anymore. So I got a double yield there. Say that with me. Double yield. Because I reap the benefits of those two, the exhibitors and the brides. So, and I was providing a phenomenal service. The bride had one day she could plan her whole wedding. Win for the bride and a very win for the exhibitor because they didn't have to chase these brides. They were all right there wanting their service. I need a tuxedo. I need a DJ. I need a caterer. I need a baker. Got it? Figure? Good. Now, for a whole year, for 10 years actually, that did really, really well. I'm very thankful. Now, the first 3 years was murder, break even, or less than. And then I started about 4 or 5 years in, started really getting traction. Man, 5, 6, 7, 8, killing it. 8 years, getting tired. This is a job working full time. Here's the great thing. So during that whole 10-year process, roughly made about $100,000 per year. The first couple of years, kind of sketchy, but let's just say that just in scope, last year I was making more than $100,000. But over the 10-year period, I actually made $1 million. Isn't that pretty cool? 100,000 times 10 is $1 million. Wow. But I'm not a millionaire. I made $1 million over time, just like you. Add up your income. Now, I was tired, read the book, Millionaire Fastlane, MJ DeMarco. Get out of businesses that are low barrier of entry. Ooh, it's hard. It's $100,000 a year. A lot of my homies were like, man, just go hire somebody and pay them $50,000 and you get $50,000 and you don't do anything. It sounds so easy. And I actually contemplated that. And then I decided to sell the business. And then, well, aren't you going to save that business for somebody else? For your daughter? Nope. I have to make that decision. If you want to grow, you got to let go. If you want to grow, you got to do what you don't want to do. How bad do you want freedom? And I knew it was a very difficult decision. I sold it. Now, here's the cool thing. I sold it for $400,000. Wow. So I made that much and then I sold it. But see, here's the thing. I sold it on terms. And I sold it for $400,000 and they pay me $2,000 a month in installment loan, also known as owner financed. We know that familiar term. And guess what? I just hit 10 years and I just went to the bridal show and they've been paying and their contract is not done, or their agreement or contract, whatever you want to call it. It keeps paying and paying and paying and paying. And I live off that. And I did it again and I sold M&M Productions and I did it again and I did it again, did it again. Okay. So here's the great thing about it. I made income from that business that pays out for a very long time, just like real estate. So it sounds like a great story. It wasn't easy. Did I have to learn a lot? And it was a big fear. What if they default? What if they don't pay their payment? And see, the great thing is I built that business that it was making $100,000. And the people that took it over were wonderful people, and they're not lazy people. They're very hardworking people, and they've actually increased the revenue. I actually hit a ceiling. I could only do so much. At the time when I sold it 10 years ago, I got to 100 exhibitors. Then, I think a year or 2 years after that, these folks, they got up to 150 vendors, and they were killing it. Congratulations to them. And they still paid me $2,000, and they've never missed a payment and never been late. Now, I know COVID has hurt them in some form or fashion. They have lost some revenue. It has been a not so easily ride, but I saw them 10 years later. They're still vibing. There was a line outside the convention center, and it was so exciting, and tickets are $15 a piece now. Hopefully they're to continue to do well. They're making their payment. I'm happy. They're happy. Their dream when I sold the business to them, that they've always wanted to own a business. They've always been employees their whole life, and they are giggled or whatever to own a business. Now, owning a business is a lot of work, and they know it, and it's not easy. They're fulfilled and I'm fulfilled, and it wasn't easy. And I had a lot of fear, but it was the best decision I've made, and that's why I'm very loyal to MJ DeMarco by writing that book, encouraging me to do that. And I hope that this podcast encourages you to burn a bridge. I hope that you would get home after you pulled over because you're crying right now and realize that you need to make a decision. Get a pen and paper, take inventory. What are all your skills? Worst case scenario, what can I do to make money? Number 2, how can I make money? What's my stabilization rate? What is the rate that I need no matter hell or high water, what's that number? And then put a number 6 months or a year in there for savings. I was a dice thrower back then 10 years ago. I didn't have that kind of savings that I would do now, but it would push me. And even today, all those years later, when I want a new bicycle, or something, maybe an RC car, I figure out a way to increase my income. I learned that from Rich Dad Poor Dad. He really wanted to buy a Porsche. I'm not into cars per se. And he just bought an asset to pay for that Porsche. So that might be as simple as that for you. Whatever that case may be. If you really want something, there's nothing wrong with rewarding yourself. You should partake in rewarding yourself. What's the point of life? You should enjoy it. Share the word, share the gospel, hang out with legitimate people, and go buy assets. So hopefully this encouraged you. I know this is an extremely long question. Number 1, I got a couple more there. I'll break those off in a couple of days or so. Hopefully you're doing good, and I appreciate you listening this far. If you have a question or a comment or encouragement, let your boy know. But no matter what you do, figure out a way to go buy another asset.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.